Well, hello, Advanced family. And maybe those of you who are watching in even broader than our advanced movement family, we want to welcome you into a conversation with some friends, narrowly around the release of some new songs that we've written. So this group of people who I'll quickly introduce got together in February in Southern California with the hopes of writing some songs, out of which that time came 4 wonderful songs that we were able to sing at Advanced Global 2024 in Houston at One Life Church, with so many of you in the room and so many of you outside of the room watching it. And those songs we've recorded, we've produced and engineered, and Josh will tell us more in a little bit. And we're going to be releasing them on the 20th of this month, which is pretty exciting. So I wanted to just introduce the folks that are in this room on the chat from east to west. Josh Eldridge, say hello. Thank you, Josh. Josh
What's up?
Josh is at Monument Church in Gaithersburg, just outside of the DC metro area. Sam and Becky Cox, say what's up.
Hello.
You guys look
Hi.
so cute together. Sam and Becky are at Southlands Church in Orange County, California. And Redmond, who I think for many of us maybe doesn't need an introduction, but Matt, who along with his family is now settled into Southlands as their home church in Orange County as well, but also and as many of the folks on the chat have been writing songs for a long time, but has written songs that have helped shape the lyric and melody for nations for decades, and is now a part of our kind of family, our church, our movement family. So Matt, it's so good to have you on. Hello.
Thank you. I liked when you asked Sam and Becky to say what's up, because English people can't bring themselves to say what's up. We just can't. It just sounds wrong in an English mouth. So you were like, say what's up. They're like, hi. I'm sorry, I started it wrong, bro. I'm sorry. I should have just like, howdy doody.
I watched them squirm, and it was so delightful. Well, it's so good to be back together again. As I said, we were together in some writing rooms in February, and not just this group. We even invited in some younger songwriters from within our advanced movement, which was so cool to partner together. And so if you're watching in and you're a songwriter, we welcome you. If you're watching in and you're a musician, maybe you're a part of a local church worship team, oh man, we welcome you. Thank you for your service. If you're a faithful saint serving in one of those churches, we welcome you. If you're maybe a staff member at one of those churches, we welcome you. If you're a lead pastor, are you sure you want to be here? Not kidding. We're so glad that you're here, and we want to call
You're
out.
not using your time very well, Var.
We're going to call all out of all of you.
Or just very, very bored.
Yes. We want to call out of each of you that are watching your full attention, maybe for the next 30 minutes, in hopes that God might do something because of our time together. One of the things that happened when we started in February, day one at Southlands, in one of the little rooms, there was a piano, and Josh was playing the beginnings of what would become a song called "People of Your Presence," and he was just new to like da 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 da, and he just kept playing that for like a half an hour as we were setting up, and Matt was opening up his computer, and Matt said, "Guys, I feel like I've got like this line that I'd love to maybe even throw into the mix. Welcomed by the Father, hidden in the Son, carried by the Spirit into your presence, God," which was like so beautiful. Matt, I felt like from iVista, as a young worship leader watching you through all those years, you came into the room immediately with something to share, which I thought was so generous. I would imagine that we're not the first room that you've been generous into. Will you just share with us what is that posture like? That posture of generosity. You came with some ideas, you weren't withholding, freely gave them. Where does that come from, my friend?
I mean, you're super kind. Firstly, I felt very at home very quickly. It's always nice when you've done a bit of life with people in the room already, right? There's a lot of trust. I think a lot of songwriting is about building an environment where creativity will thrive, right? Where something good's going to come out. And a lot of the times it's just, if you want to build somewhere people will be vulnerable, or people bring an idea that not sure if it's their best idea or their worst idea, but they feel safe to bring it, then you're on such a head start already. And I think that was that room that day. I think there's so much love and respect, and even doing a bit of life together in the room. That stuff always shows up in the songs. So that's why I was super happy. You know, whatever came up, I feel like I'm 100% there, and just, it's an interesting thing. Sometimes I do meet some songwriters who, it's almost like a scarcity mindset to the creativity process. So it'll be like, they have this really lovely idea, but they're waiting, they're holding it back until they can write it with someone who they think, they might take the song somewhere, or this person might record it. And I have met people who are holding back their best stuff because I'm saving that for another room, I'm not bringing it here. I just think that's basically a lack of trust in God. That's like a scarcity mindset of creativity, of like, I'm going to save this one because it's too good for this moment, or because I really feel so strongly about this, I'll bring it to this other room. And so I try and just, every time I songwrite, I want to be fully present and trying to bring my best. And I just feel like God would more likely breathe on that. But also, if I don't, that's just me hoarding stuff that is because of a lack of trust in God, or what if he won't provide next time? That seems a bit silly. So yeah, so that's a long answer, but that's my approach.
Yeah, it's so helpful to let go of the results for the sake of what could happen in the room was such a blessing for me. I mean, Josh, take us into that moment. As you were just playing that, and you could have changed the melody line, but it was creating an atmosphere. What was going through your mind as you were, as a musician and as a producer, helping create space for the Lord to just move in that room? What was going through your mind, man?
Yeah, bro. I mean, so I grew up in like the spontaneous river of just sitting in progressions, So I think that really helps me to cultivate something for others to sit in. I think the partnership of writing songs is something I've always loved and love being a part of, because and I learned earlier that you really can't write songs alone. You can, but it's just better with people. And as brothers and sisters in the room, I just felt like, no, 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 no. Like my actual like buttocks began to hurt because I was sitting so long playing that. So I mean, I was kind of like, all right, is something in this, Lord? Because you don't know, like you don't know. And so I just stayed with it. And as I kept playing it, I started to love it more. And I started to sort of start thinking about things, because melodies come to me easy. So I just stayed with it, man. And I just feel like the Lord blessed it. We had the scriptures open. Caliber of experience and love and brotherhood in the room. It just felt right.
Yeah, it was really beautiful. Sam and Becky, Josh kind of alluded to some of the elements, right? There's the mechanism of the piano that was so helpful. The Word of God, which is not something to just go to as a bank of song ideas. It's life for us, for our souls. We know that, but we've got the Word.
Yeah.
What, Sam and Becky, just elementally, what are things that as you're going into a room to create, what are the things that you bring in and also desire to have to help cultivate that moment?
Yeah, I think for me, I've realized more and more over the years that there is a heart. The heart posture is like, that's make or break. I've been in like really stunning environments where, if you're just feeling dry or distant, it's just going to be difficult. So I think, yeah, head and heart just in the right place, first and foremost. And, Matt talked about trust and relationship helps. It's not like a necessity, but it certainly helps. But, man, I think I've gotten better. I used to be like Goldilocks, like it's too bright, it's too dark, you got to have everything just so, and I think as I've probably done more collaborative writing in the last couple of years and been invited into spaces. And I think you just have to let go of some of that and just be open to just what it is that you're going into. Yeah, I think I've just picked up little tips from different writers. And I think obviously having the scriptures, having instruments there, and having, those things that you need, the little clutch of ideas, bringing some ideas that you're willing to share freely with the room is a key thing. Like Google Docs been so helpful. We used to have in the old days, like notebooks, and everybody's got a different idea of the verse, and then you kind of realize you've written 4 different songs, but actually a shared Google Doc can be so helpful because you can see one another's process in real time. That's been a really helpful thing. I've found writing with Matt, like I would record the thing at the end when it felt complete, and then I realized, oh, Matt's been recording for like 14 minutes. So just learning, sometimes little gems can come up, and it's just good to have more than you think recorded. And then just, knowing what your gift is, like I've realized I'm not so great with lyrics. I'm much better, like Josh, much better with the music and the melody. I think, just again, having worked with different people, like Matt's always so just acutely alert to like the lyric and how that's going to land and how it's going to feel. And I think for me, I've realized I'm kind of, I have a bit of a utility of like helping set a tone, I think, and giving the song a sense that it could have legs, even just like musically, even if that's less to do with lyrics and melody. But yeah, just discerning what your kind of contribution is. And, and then with Matt, it's puns as well, and dad jokes, and, coffee
You've got to
order,
there, haven't you? Yeah.
So
The coffee order is a very important part of the process.
We must have coffee.
We had some pretty bougie coffee that day too.
We did.
One of them days. It was
I
pretty
think I had an
bougie.
espresso tonic, if I remember.
You like
I was
that
like,
little-
wow.
It's a little orange peel.
that's too bougie.
The cup. And Sam, I do want to say,
yeah.
I like to think of you as golden, finding that lovely sort of firmness of
Yeah.
bed.
Yeah. Thanks for giving us that picture. I'm going to
Yeah.
treasure that
Yeah.
too.
You're welcome.
Yeah,
You're
it's
very
right
welcome.
here.
That's nice. Bex, any
Yeah.
additional elements?
It actually rhymes with Sam Cox. So
Goldilocks. Sam Cox.
Sam Cox, Goldilocks. It's fine by me. That can be
I'm
my
going to
new Instagram
immediately
handle.
change your.
Oh, what?
I'm going to call you. Oh, yeah.
I think we should move on, Ryan.
Let's move on.
I actually feel very comfortable in this space, Sam. This feels like a nice. The porridge of this conversation
Oh, man.
feels perfectly to me. Bex, any additional elements that you? I love the thing, Sam and Matt, of the head and the heart being elements that are so important. Goes without saying, but it's worth saying. It's so good. But Bex, any additional pieces that you have found helpful in the process?
Yeah, I think just being confident as well in who you are, where it's like, actually, in that moment, I'm a child of God who loves God dearly, and I'm bringing my loaves and fish to the table. And confident in who he's made you. And it's like, as Sam was saying, like we all bring different things. Like, I don't think I've ever bought a melody ever, but like I care deeply about lyrics, and I will not kind of stop until they feel, correct. And what about this person walking this, singing this moment? Like, is that do we want to put those lyrics in people's mouths, like for them to, like, that's their offering of praise? And so, like, just knowing, like, God has created us all differently, and he's given us different gifts, and it's like just living in that confidence to come into a space and go like, yeah, I'm not going to sit down at the piano and do any beautiful melody, and that's okay. Like, I can bring something else. And so, that's what I always bring to this.
So good.
That is really good. Like knowing, knowing your strength, knowing the other people's strength, knowing when to lean back, when to lean in. Same thing for me. If I'm in a room with people like Sam and Josh, I'm not going to be focusing on melody. I feel like, let's lean into their gifts. And I think a lot of this stuff started with that kind of approach, right? And then, but in a way, even people who aren't writing lyric are still rallying around that theme. I think a lot of the reason these songs happen and they, when we get traction and momentum in the room, is because we all care about that theme. So whether it's People of Your Presence, which is almost has a few theme, I guess. It's a kind of a song of encounter, but it's also a song of going. It's a song of reverence and presence, and actually there's a Trinitarian aspect to it too, which I love. It's like this spirit song, but in the context, in the first couple of lines of, welcome by the Father, hidden in the Son, carried by the Spirit, and so I think that because even people who, apply themselves more to chords and melody and all that kind of thing in the moment, we're still rallying around those themes. And then, we're the saints of old, like we just love the track record of God, right? So anytime you can find a new way to sing about that, that's going to be something that interests all of us in the room. And I think because we care about that theme and because it feels real to us, that's where we're moving pretty quickly together.
So good.
It's good.
It's like a submission thing too, isn't it? Like when you submit to each other, like it's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. That whole thing of the worst songwriting experiences or co-writing experiences are always the ones where people come in and, this thing's sacred and you can't touch it. You think, well, go and write it on your own then. We won't. You can't really come in with that attitude. You have to be like offering your idea and,
that's so true.
Secure enough if it gets rejected, but also not like bringing it like, hey, this should be Psalm 151. You need to come in preferring each other's ideas, and I love that little dance that happens when there's a lot of humble people in the room. People with strong ideas who are humble. That's a lovely combination, and there's a lot of voices in that room, right? I mean, a lot of people with opinions, a lot of people with could write songs of their own. So it's this beautiful little dance that happens. We're all preferring each other and celebrating each other's ideas and finding the way forward together.
That's what I've always found that beautiful with you, Ryan. Like Ryan, you'll send me just a snippet of something and it'll just be half thought out maybe, but you'll have a note and you will say, hey, what do you think about this? I'm just like, I love the fact that you are, it's like dignifying too, like you come in a room with people that love you, but aren't super obsessed with you. Like I would hate that. I would hate if people came to me like, you the only one that got this, like you the only one that got something for this, but you just, the way you guys just bring like ideas together, I just think that's golden. Like you can't manufacture that. I think the Lord just somehow works that in us. Yeah.
I love the language, Bex, of loaves and fish. This is what we bring to you, Lord. This is what we have. And Matt, I feel like your loaves are, that loaf of the phrase saints of old and the way that it inspired us to think about God's kind of faithfulness through the ages. You're the same to us as the saints of old. I don't know where. There's a bakery in San Francisco called Tartine. They have some of the best bread in the world. There's a place in the Northwest called Ken's Artisan, which has won all these big James Beard Awards. I feel like I often go to Sunbeam That's some of the loaf that I pull from. And then you come in the room with carried by the Father, hidden in the Son, saints of old. You go to different
Whatever
bread
I bring, it's always gluten free. That's
Yes. Here's my question to you. How are you filling your mind, whether it be gluten-free or not? How are you filling your mind so that when you need to bring bread, bring fish to derive ideas and thoughts, where are those things coming from, Matt? Where do you draw inspiration?
I think the shift for me was when I started realizing, I'm a songwriter all the time. And not just when I get my guitar out of the case and sit in a room and think, I wonder what I can come up with today. It's by the time we get in that room, I've got a file with loads of ideas, and then the ones that I'm more keen on are sitting towards the top of it. And then I think that was one where I had a few little words. Yeah, we've seen your promise kept. We've known your faithfulness. And the whole idea of saints of old, I thought, that's cool. I love the word saints, and I love, this idea of I guess it means chosen ones, and that we are that, and that these people who went before us are that, and we all having the same experience of a God who keeps showing up for us. And so I had a little something in my kind of digital notebook, which I think people call a computer, but just I had stuff ready. But you still don't. I'm coming into the room thinking, is this silly? Is this good? Does this matter? That's a big question. Is this actually matter? What is it? Is it? You can write something good that doesn't matter,
Fascinating.
And so I think just bringing it in, trying to kickstart us that day. Honestly, very happy for people to go, no, not really resonating with that, or that seems like we've done that before, or all that stuff. Because I'm not good at filtering on my own, and I love that little thing that happens as a team, that we become a very effective filter together. The good stuff starts rising to the top, the bad stuff gets kicked out. We're infinitely better. 5 of us in a room. I'm the worst. I'm one of the worst in history. I mean, Tim Hughes' song "Here I Am to Worship." I was the first person in the world to hear that. He played to me. I said, "Yeah, it's quite good. It's not as good as some of your others." That's the level I'm operating from. 3 years later, it was the most sung worship song in the world. So that's Heart of Worship. I was never ever going to lead. 10,000 Reasons I wasn't going to put on the album. I have a very poor filter, but I need to be, but when we're in the room together, I notice we function really well as a filter of this is worth chasing. Not so much that,
good.
and it's really helpful.
Wonderful. I was in the room when you were recording 10,000 Reasons, and I tried to meet you, and that didn't go well. And I just had to faithfully pray for decades that one day I would meet you. But I did. I was thinking 10,000 felt like maybe too many, a bit high, and so I was going to give you some feedback on maybe 8,000 Reasons, but my filter is not good either. Wonderful. What was helpful for us? Good stuff, Matt. What was helpful for us was there was already some themes in place, which I think is so helpful as a creative to have some riverbanks of direction. So we come in with all of these breads and fishes, but then also there's sort of like a menu already laid out. Or there's a direction that we're going to craft, and it's, Italian. Okay. That's helpful if I'm crafting a menu to have a direction. And we kind of had that from the global team to think through some themes. So God's faithfulness was one of them. His presence was one of them. So we wrote People of Your Presence. And another song that ended up kind of getting started at that time. And then even joy, Ryan Termesseisen preached on the joy of God. And if you were in the room or watching, Toppy preached on the holiness and the presence of God. And so Bex, just I want to maybe even throw it to you. Talk about that dance that we've alluded to between even the preachers giving us some some data points like Rigby did 3 years ago with Humbly Onward. How does that process go, Becky? And then how does it inspire songs?
Yeah, I think this time we actually had a bit of time with Alan, maybe the night before, or after the first night, where he could just share what some of the global team they were living with and the ideas. And you mentioned many of them already. And the theme for the conference was the good fight, and not like fight necessarily, but fighting for the presence of God, fighting for joy, fighting for mission, and for me that was a huge thing, just hearing Alan kind of like just share on that and give vision to that. And when you're coming to a global conference, there's a reality that like you've got people from all over the world, like that we're not going to be able to replicate their ways of worshiping and their churches and their experiences. And some of them are like tiny church plants that have just started, and some of them are bigger churches. And every church is coming with a different, like last season. And, 2 years before that, when we were in England, like it was the first one post-COVID. And so there's been like journeys for each of these churches. And so again, like just actually having this moment of going, Lord, we trust you that you're going to speak through these themes at the conference, and taking those themes and using them to find ways to sing in a way that you go, I hope this really speaks to the church that are coming from Madagascar. I really pray that this speaks to the church that is coming from that tiny valley church in Wales, like that actually is walking a completely different like road to this church in somewhere in America somewhere, and actually realizing like it's such a beautiful thing having the global church together. And actually these themes unite us. Like we're all going after the presence of God. We're all going after like just fighting for joy, and we're fighting for unity and mission. And so just realizing like it's a gift to have those themes, and actually really helpful to kind of sit down and go like, okay, what do we want to say about this theme? What do we want to sing about? How can we turn our gaze and sing praises in that way with those kind of themes? So yeah, it's very helpful. Otherwise you end up kind of looking all around.
I think I was just going to add to, I think what's been cool in the last couple of global conferences, because it's quite unusual, this, like working this closely with the themes of an event and a conference, I think. But I think both times we've seen there's like been an extra, just the sense that it's all hanging together, like in the Lord, and that there's like a weight and a coherence and a sense of it landing in ways that like, I think we've just found it to be so fruitful. Like, it's like, it's not accidental, but it's still such a gift to realize that that's part of the fruit of approaching things that way. So,
yeah. And it's beautifully representative of just even the Trinity, the diversity of role, the deference, but hearing from those that are going to speak, and then the administration of it, and then the carrying forth of it. It's like the God that we worship, that we would partner in such a special and unique way. When teachers and prophets, priests, and musicians partner together, I think this has been something of a theme that we've even discussed. Something about going together where you go a little further. That's really beautiful, that I think God actually really blesses in this process. And Josh, I think you guys at Monument have done this really well. You will go into a preaching series ahead of which, thinking about the theme. And I think maybe Break In Again was one of those. It's one of the songs that we recorded. And I think there was a series that you guys were going through. And so if you're a teacher, whether it be a kids ministry teacher or you teach youth on a Sunday or a Sunday night or a midweek, where you're preaching from the pulpit on a Sunday, prophetically calling your people to more, there's an opportunity that I want to kind of instigate a little and push you toward to collaborate with your musicians. Josh, how have you guys done that at Monument? I think you've really led the way in some of
Oh man, that's kind of you to say, bro. I think one thing that was really helpful is eldership sort of seeing a value for giving the saints something to sing as a church, and I think in them inviting me, because I'm on my way to be a theologian. I pray, bro, that I'm coming up. You know what I'm saying? I'm loving literature more and more, but they invited me into the process of creating the sermon set, like creating the series and helping with graphics and art and what's thought provoking, what's these little things that we can pull out. So I think that's been a big deal. That's been a real big deal. So I'm involved with that, and I'll oftentimes just jot down what the Lord might be saying to me while we're talking about these themes and while we're going through the scriptures. And so I'll have some notes. Then I'll sort of like, sometimes it happens and sometimes it doesn't. But I think giving it effort has really, there's lots of fruit in it. It just, because we wrote Break In Again out of 1st and 2nd Kings, and Eric just challenged me. He was like, man, what if you could bring these magnificent stories of old to life and tell them again and tell them over and over again? And this God of this Exodus is the same God that we're dependent on today. So it's like, I think I took that approach with it, but it took being in the room with those guys. I will say Travis and Eric would not admit that they're songwriters. This is also the sneaky thing. Like, God is saying things through uncommon people. And so, like, I really think we ought to just kind of press into some of that, because people may not look like songwriters. They may not sing like songwriters. They may not write like songwriters, but man, are they theologians? Can they behold Jesus in a way that's unique? And I just think that's what happened with some of that. And it continues to happen. We get new musicians and we invite them into that circle. So, my boy Dave, my boy Alex Goodling. We just pursuing. So, it's a family thing. Like you were saying, Matt, I think just being in a room with people that you love and that are not afraid to be vulnerable. Sometimes it don't work. And then when it don't work, you order Chinese food or pizza or something. So, yeah.
I think that's what I would say. You've managed to sing about Elijah, the widow of Sidon, and at the Naaman. Like, that's a triumph right there.
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't that great? That's Travis, bro. Travis came in and was like, boom. And if you know Travis, he's just a tall giant who's really good with words. He's also a quiet musician. He's like a closet musician, bro. But he had that idea, and I'm like, oh, how could we sing that and elevate it, So
I think we've watched you, Josh, because we've got, friends around in similar churches, but watching you be more holistic with the other saints around you has been really inspiring. Like, Josh is throwing out names, but he's talking about just, some leaders in the church, but also just attendees of the church that have wouldn't expect to find themselves in writing rooms that are, involved. And that's really special.
Yeah, it is, man. It is. I think the Lord is just calling us to it, as just even locally, it's a beautiful thing. It is.
There is a kind of a river momentum flow thing, Mab, you were alluding to when you start to defer, and it feels like that's idea or melody inside of the writing room. There's also a sense of just like we should keep pressing in.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of it is what I mentioned earlier for me, like the communal wisdom thing. Sometimes, and consensus means a lot. Like, if you're in a room and all 5 of you are getting super excited about this song, that's good news. If it's 2 out of 5 of you, and there's nothing wrong sometimes. Just go, let's just leave this one to the side. Because, one thing is momentum in the room is everything. So if you're really stuck, or you're really struggling to get excited about it, or you don't know where it goes next, sometimes just park it and start something else. Because if you sit there for like 2 hours, in a dead end, that's going to ruin the rest of the day. But I think sometimes it is that consensus thing. And ultimately, though, it's when you start leading the song, right? I mean, it's actually a joy when you guys were feeding back from the conference, hey, this song's landing really well. This song, you wouldn't believe, it's like people are singing it out. And that's a great moment, isn't it? Because you never really know. You know, sometimes you're so excited about something and just doesn't seem to resonate. Other times it surprises you. But that kind of, that's the moment, isn't it? And it was wonderful hearing that.
Yeah, it was cool. Alan was on the front row sending video of the moment as we as a people who were in the room were singing back to Matt, and Matt sending back encouragement. It was a kind of a beautiful subtext to all the things that were happening in the room. And then since then we've done the job, the hard yards of now, you know, the songs were captured live, and we've gotten some demos. And so just as we land this plane, just honors, dude, Josh, you have carried the lion's share of the work on the backside of these songs, bringing them to life really beautifully and keeping us all on task. And so, you know, we've had to send in some overdubs, just laden with auto-tune for me, trying to tone down some of the rasp.
I thought that was T-Pain on the track. I didn't realize it was you.
T-Pain. I love it.
Yeah.
So Josh, tell us just real briefly what's gone into the post-production process, and then we'll wrap this
I
up.
think a lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of late nights. And again, it's just, I mean, again, I'm speaking to what we've all been saying. Just when you are passionate, we all in a room and we all excited about this. So I just feel like, diving into it. But being honest, it's just a lot of time, a lot of tweaking, and a lot of like, man, I really want to capture the thing well, and just involving different people calling and say, hey man, would you play this? Would you sort of do some post-production on this? And just the generosity of the saints, bro, just generosity of people coming and saying, yeah, I'll do that. Love that. I think one thing, just back and forth with Easton Paul Walker is a brother of mine, and we've been walking together for a long time. But he's an engineer and just journeyed with me through all of my bad songs and all of my like the rough ones, and mixed them and mastered them. So yeah, just going back and forth with him and saying, hey man, could you bring this up? Could you bring this down? And just involving you guys and you guys saying, actually, this could be turned up and turned down. Again, it's like, it would be easy for somebody who might be called the executive producer to be like, I'm going to keep the sound the way I need it to sound. It's like, I just don't think that's not always the way, that's not always a helpful, a helpful collaboration. So that's really been something I've enjoyed, man. Just staying up 2 a.m., sending people text messages and saying, hey, bro, this is coming together. What you think? So yeah, dialing it in. That's just been a joy, man. It's been a joy. And being blessed by Monument, honestly, I'll say, man, Monument has been so generous with time and allowing me to just dive into this stuff. Because, we also have songs that we, are recording and writing. And so, it's generosity on all kinds of sides. So that's been a gift, man.
Yeah, shout out Steve Fowler on bass, one of the most joyful bass players to play with.
My boy.
The stage, but also doing some work after the fact. Riley Barr, for those of you who were there on one of the evenings, Young Life's youth led us in worship, and Riley's one of those wonderfully skillful youth worship leaders who gave some time to play some guitar on this, and so many more. Matt, Josh, Sam, Becky, thank you so much for this time, and the opportunity to work together has been amazing.
Love it.
Pleasure, man.
If you're still with us, well done. At midnight, I think it's Eastern Standard Time, all of these songs will come out, and we invite you to play them and be blessed. Play them in your local church, advancement.com. Scroll down, you'll see an image that talks about the new song. Click on that, and I'll take you to all the tracks, all the charts. And be blessed. We love you guys so much and are so grateful for the time that we were able to share with you today. Have a great rest of your afternoon, evening, or morning.